and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, this is Population Me, where I do a monthly book club to finish a bunch of books that I have and will have probably left in my closet for more years if I haven't started this channel. So this is a new book that I'm starting and have actually finished this month, which don't give it up for me because it's only 300 pages and I just finished it. But to be fair, there was a week I didn't read because I wasn't even in the country and I didn't take the book with me. But I knew that was going to happen. But this is more of a serious book, which is it's still fiction, but it's also more realistic to what's going on now, which is kind of ironic considering I got this book like a few weeks prior to reading it, which I shouldn't have to have too many books, but I saw the book title and it was free, so I took it because I was like, oh, this is an interesting read. This will be an interesting read. This is a lot about what was going on today in the political sphere. So this might be a little bit political of a video, but all opinions are mine because who else would it be? And this is a book called Ask Me No Questions by Marina Udas, and I did butcher that because I don't know how to say her last name, but it tells of a story of 4 family members, 2 daughters, Aisha and Nadira, 2 parents, Abba and Ma. I actually know that's what they call them. It's in the perspective of the younger daughter on the cover, Nadira. And they're a Bangladeshi family that came to the U.S. way before 9/11 occurred on a tour visa months prior. Months after that, they expired and they stayed in the country for many years. And this is how it happened before 9/11. So once 9/11 happened, we all know what happened. If you don't, a lot of crackdowns on Muslim businesses, Muslim communities, Muslim people being detained, questioned, registered, just to see if anyone had connections to what happened in 9/11. I hope YouTube doesn't take my video down because it's supposed to be informational. And because of that, they had to go to Canada and see if Canada would let them in because they were allowing a lot more people into their country than America was. But when they got there, they, I guess, had a limit and they couldn't take them, which forced them to turn right back into America. They found they had an expired visa by years, actually, and they detained the dad while keeping the rest of the family away, saying they had a certain amount of time to figure out how to get the money for bond, because it was like $5,000 that they wanted their dad out of detainment, and also to figure out the right paperwork for him, because I guess all the paperwork he filed to get a new visa either didn't go through, or the lawyer that they had was kind of scamming people and getting people like fake passports, because there was a lot of that happening around that time. And so the 2 daughters, Aisha and Nadira. Aisha is a senior in high school. Nadira is a freshman in high school. Aisha is a star student. She's valedictorian. She has all these colleges and universities calling her name. All these. I don't think she does sports, but she does have a lot of extracurriculars she does for. She's one of the popular kids. And Nadira is kind of an average student. You know, she's there. Her grades aren't special. She has friends. She has a good time at school. But the thing about it is that no one knows their business. No one knows they're like undocumented immigrants. They have friends who are in similar positions, but no one really talks about it with each other because there's always that situation that someone might say something or someone might overhear something, and that will get them in trouble with their family and get them left out and kicked out of school. So for the longest time, don't ask me any questions because they're not going to answer any of them. They're told to lie about it because they've been doing this for years, and if they have been even questioned on it, they never know who might be listening. So when their dad gets detained and their mom goes to a shelter because she needs to find a way to help him, and she can't really do that if she's going back, not to their home, but to their uncle's home. They go there, the 2 daughters, they try to go back to school, live a normal life, but they have this over their head, and their dad is detained, and their mom doesn't have their documents, but only has like what she can do to like get their money. So with the help of their uncle and their auntie, they're able to gather some paperwork. They try to go to their new lawyer because their old lawyer was actually kind of scamming on the side. Not them, but they were just scamming, period. And the government caught up to them and told them that they had to like go to jail. They were forcing like social security cards, green cards, all that thing. They didn't give them any of that, but it was just like for their other clients they did that. So they were like, okay, you're going to jail. So for the current lawyer, they need documents to prove like where the money that he saved went towards. He didn't have a bank account. So the government assumed the money that he was keeping was for, you know, really bad entities that were connected to 9/11, or money he was getting legally or something like that. So they needed proof that he was here for a good reason, because his visa was expired and that is illegal to do, and he does have cause for detainment. I know this is 300 pages, but I'm trying to give you the most information about it because every information about this book is important, I think. So when I get the paperwork to the lawyer can only do so much with it because, one, these are kids giving them papers, and two, there's only so much I can do for someone who already extended their visa without having a government officiate it, so it doesn't really count what they said. But so Aisha, who is considered a smart one, popular, always trying to get ahead, she starts to falter in her grades, falter in her friendships, because she realized she can't really go to college if it doesn't work out. If they do get deported back to Bangladesh, if I haven't said it, they're from Bangladesh. If they get deported to Bangladesh, she doesn't really know anyone there. They kind of left when they're really young. So she didn't really want to try anymore. And she wasn't really trying to try with documents because she didn't think they had a difference because they're kids. Nadira, on the other hand, I'm saying her name wrong, I'm sure of it, it doesn't sound right. But she is trying her best to figure out a way for her dad, because she does not want to come off as being very lazy or very selfish in her ways, because she doesn't have the best grades, she's not doing the best in school, she has friends, but she's never trying more than what she has put effort in. And so when she has a chance to get $5,000 from her uncle, saying that the lawyer needs it, she takes it to one of her cousin's friends, who knows where to get fake IDs, fake visas, fake everything, and she goes to him because in the moment of desperation, she wanted it no matter what, not just for her, but for her entire family, mainly for her dad, who was still in detainment for several weeks on end. She ended up backing out of it because she realizes they're sketchy. Some of them have a lot of weapons, they're talking business. It's not a good look to go there, give them $5K, get a card, and potentially not get caught. That's a whole nother looking over your shoulders type moment if you do that. Especially if they find out you have it because you didn't have it and the government already caught you to begin with. So it's where did you get this one from? We didn't give it to you. We still have your dad. There's no way we gave it to you. So she runs away from it because she doesn't want to be doing it anymore. So she still has the money. So she takes the money and the documentation that they have from the lawyer to her dad's trial, first to her mom, and then her mom takes her to the dad's trial because he has a trial to see if he's going to get denied, or is he going to get another chance to appeal for his residency to still live in America. And so literally it was you have, the lawyer was not the lawyer, the judge was we don't know where his money went. We don't know what his money went. I don't know. They were saying things that was we can't prove this and that, so you must have done this and that. And it was just a lot that was being told. So Nadira, who had the documents, she once stated that this money that I have in my hand, which is kind of crazy to pull out a wad of cash and be this is the money you think my dad just gave away. Which I guess if you need to, but goodness, I hope they didn't get robbed. But you live in New York City, so really big city. But yeah, essentially she shows up the money and says, this is the money my dad had, you think he gave away. This is the money. This money has been left for our tuition, mainly for Aisha's tuition, because she is going to college in a few months if that happens, right? And for them to think that it was given to an organization or given away is crazy because it's in my hand, right? That's the one thing she says. The second thing she says is that the documentations that the last lawyer gave them are incorrect with the name spelling. Her dad's name spelling is, I think, it's kind of but it's Husan with an A, and they kept spelling his name Hussein with an E, Hussein, but he's Husan with an A, but his document says Hussein with an A, which seems very small of a mishap. But when you're talking about residency of immigrants staying in a country or being kicked out, you need to have documentation that's correct. Otherwise, it could push back your trial and potentially keep you here longer while they figure out the documentation correctly, right? And because of that, he was able to be granted another chance to appeal his residency to see if he can actually get in this country or go to Canada or whatever. Well, not go to Canada, he has to go to Canada to figure that out. But to figure out if he could stay in America longer, essentially, right? And it's an amazing step forward, obviously. The dad is no longer in bail. He's out. He looks like he's been in bail, or he's been detained for years. It's only been a few weeks. he is a lot more quieter. He's a lot more derailed. He looks a hot mess, if we're being really honest. But that is the state of being detained for several weeks and not being given like the proper treatment at all by whoever's like taking over those prisons, I guess. So especially the next few weeks is a lot of uncertainty, a lot of looking over their shoulders, worried that someone's going to call them out, say anything that they couldn't even go to the school and tell them the truth about anything. Because in their mind, one little word, now that we're in the thick of it, of literally having one last appeal before they're really getting kicked out, legally this time, it might not be a good idea to hang out with friends, to go to school, to even think about college, because you might not even be going to any of that by tomorrow. But Nadira tells Aisha, I might pronounce people's names crazy all videos, so please ignore me. At least the names, the rest please listen. But she tells Aisha, like, you should just tell people, like, let them know what's going on, because you're just avoiding them as if you didn't spend 4 years with these people. If they don't understand, that's on them, but to not tell them your story is crazy, because you might not be here tomorrow, and that's okay, because at the end of the day, like, they will still know who you are or whatever, and for you to be quiet about it, especially when you're mentally, like, she's depressed and everything, when you're getting depressed over this, like, go tell people, put that out there, let them know this is affecting you, right? This is the reason why you haven't gone to school, why your counselor is like questioning what's wrong with you, and why you're not going to the debate club anymore, or math club, or whatever she does. And so she does it during graduation. She's still valedictorian. She does stay for graduation. And she gives a speech about how she's undocumented, how the whole time she's been doing this, she's been wanting the same thing everyone else has, which is education, a chance to succeed, a chance to go to college, a chance to have a career, to build a lives, but how she was invisible most of the time with the situation until it came brought up by the whole payment and 9/11, put a spotlight on them. Even though I think they are Muslim, but they are definitely not of the 9/11 type of people that did it, right? Those people were, I think, ISIS. But when America started saying everyone was, everyone needs to be like questioned, it became very well known that, like, oh, now they want to put a spotlight on people who were just minding their own business, when the problem was still overseas. But that happened. So she gave a great valedictorian speech. They didn't really talk too much about like what people's responses to it was, because the next chapter was the last chapter. Literally, it was them going to their lawyer, having to see if it can get appealed, if they can have the residency. And while they did say, the dad, like, you make sure you like get your paperwork correct next time, make sure you don't overstay your visa next time. But yes, your residency has been approved. You can stay here. Yada yada, very basic information given, nothing about like how long, what kind of residencies you given. So now they're allowed to like stay in the country for X amount of years now until the next one needs to be renewed or whatever. So they don't have to go to Canada anymore because, or I guess they can still go to Canada. They can still try to go to Canada. But the last chapter was them getting the yes, you're good to be here. You have the residency to stay. So that if they ever try to go to Canada and get like residency or green card or try for citizenship over there, they can. They just need to make sure you're not going to get deported first in America. So it's a really short book if you ever do read it, and you might think I put way too much emphasis on any part of the story, unlike other books where I give a lot less because they are like fictional for real. This one seems to be given more context because one is kind of happening today, not in a sense of like there's an attack and everyone needs to be worried because they're the same culture or race or ethnicity, but because a lot more people are getting deported or in fear of deportation. And I know everyone has like their own opinions about it, and I don't care about not sharing mine, because at the end of the day, this is affecting a lot of people, and you might know some people, you might even see people on the street that, are going through something like this, and to act ignorant to it is to almost act like you don't care about other people's plight until it happens to you, and then all of a sudden you want people to care about you a lot more. So this is my thoughts. This is my thought portion of the video, if you ever realize it. So take a seat, take a drink, and listen to me talk for like 10 minutes because I don't want to edit this video for an hour. But, I got this book because, yes, it was indicative of 9/11 and what happened during that time, but obviously this is also happening a lot more now because with the whole deportations of immigrants, mainly Hispanics, which is like one of our largest populations of minorities right now, but because a lot of states are dealing with ICE who cares what they stand for? They are just people who believe that anyone and everyone should be deported if they even think about looking our way to even stay in this country very long. And of course, there have been a lot of mishaps with deporting people who have a citizenship, who they think look like an immigrant, but they have gotten their citizenship like months ago, or they're on a visa, or they're not even Hispanic. They thought they were. It was just a whole mess because one, they're outside the law. Let's just be for real. Like, you don't take 20 people to grab one person inside of an immigration court when they're actively trying to get their papers or get like an appeal or update to their situation, and then you're like, oh, we're gonna wear like civilian clothes with a mask on while pictures are being taken of us because what we're doing is totally legal, but don't question why we have masks on and are wearing like normal civilian clothing. Like, what are you doing? The police did that. That'll be like totally illegal. Someone will be suing the police department, and somehow when it comes to ICE, they get the free reign. I know why. It's the president's fault. I get that. But even in situations like this, while ICE is a government authority or government like figurehead, so it's like the National Guard being deployed as governments while the police is more state-wise, it does seem to be like we don't have control of what we're able to stop in this country in many ways. Like, many people protest against ICE. If you know what happened during King's Day, I think it was called that. It happened like literally a week ago. I want to say on the 14th of June it happened. I could be wrong. I know it's because the president's birthday was that day and people didn't want to do that. But it was also partly because they were trying to over the country, especially here in Chicago. I didn't go because I had to travel, unfortunately. But because of what happened, they were also protesting the use of ICE because like they are taking a lot of people that are, they just assume are undocumented, and they're putting them either in a prison or they're putting them in a camp, or they're just taking them and putting them in a country that clearly doesn't want them back because they're either telling the president, we do not take these people back, they're not even up in citizenship, and whatever else is like that. And I know people have their own opinions. They think, oh, well, they're undocumented, so they should go back, or oh, let's do it correctly next time, or no, they should be able to stay here, whatever. And it's more of like, if no matter what your belief system is, right? Whether you think they should be gone, they should stay, yada yada. Do you really think it's smart to be having like 20 people who are in civilian clothing, who happen to just have to wear like a little mask, people so they can breathe through, and then go up to a person who's coming out of immigration court and then tackle them to the ground to make sure they literally do not leave or try to run away? And then you're okay, oh, but they're undocumented, it's okay. Like, how is that like civil, like how is that humanized to a lot of people when we treat criminals who do like shootings or assassinations with more respect than that ever will have? Like, it doesn't make sense about the justifications of having that much excessive force towards one person or one group of people when there's no real reason, like 9/11, to back it up, right? When 9/11 happened, everyone who wasn't a Muslim was like, yeah, sure, get them. You need to like figure out what happened, whatever. People just kind of turn a blind eye on purpose. This time, people are turning a blind eye just because they don't care. And it's like, okay, you don't got to care. But when people are looking at you and being like, so, those companies that you really like and need to like, get a lot of fresh produce from because they're mostly all farmers. Yeah, a lot of farmers actually do hire undocumented immigrants, or a lot of construction companies really do employ a lot of undocumented immigrants because they want to pay less. Let's be for real. They hire them because they want to pay less. They want to exploit their labor, all that stuff. That's the reason why you hire undocumented immigrants if you're really about it. Like, let's be for real. Like, yes, they can hire Americans or people who have citizenship or have a visa, but they know they have to pay like real wages, so they hire them to get like less of that. Let's just be for real. They're not hiring them out the goodness of their heart. They're hiring them because they want to pay them less money, which is whatever, because you still are, getting them. It's not ideal, but like they're going to do so much. They're only going to do so much. I'm not going to fight every issue here because it's not the point of this video. But when they get them, when those people are gone now, or those people don't want to work, or those people don't want to show up because they know like the next day ICE could be there, or they can call ICE on them, which they wouldn't because they're employees. They start realizing like, oh, this is bad for my business. Which question of the day is, what did you think was going to happen? But it is bad for a lot of people's businesses and for a lot of people's lifestyles, because if you are having a lot of undocumented immigrants gone, basically, or detained or deported back to their country in whatever shape, might not even be their country. Sometimes if you go into any country that the president thinks is closest to him, then you are left with a lot less employers who are working those shifts or are picking those plants or are like constructing buildings or whatever they do, right? And for that, you have to start hiring more people outside the sphere of like Americans, or just deal with whatever conscience you have, whatever left in there. And then prices go skyrocket more than they already are, because people now have to realize like, oh, there's a lot less labor, so there's a lot more people having to deal with the demand, and we don't have the supply because no one's picking out the produce anymore. So then people who don't realize that this might affect them, it will. Unfortunately, everything's political nowadays. Even if you don't make it political, even if you say this isn't political, they just make it political. You're right. A lot of things don't gotta be political, but it is in this country, and it probably is in a lot of countries, just because everyone has their own rules instead of laws and whatever. But when it comes to immigration and it comes to the people that live within it, turning a blind eye to certain things leads you to go blind for real, because then you start questioning why are gas prices high, and why are food prices high, and why is it that when you get labor is now like 3 times higher than usual, and it's just labor. You're not getting tariffs on labor. You're not getting import taxes on labor. You are getting people who are no longer of a certain background because of that labor. Not saying it's good to look for undocumented immigrants for cheaper prices, but they were the reason why you had cheaper prices. Let's be for real. Like a lot of places that hire jobs, whether it's hospitality, whether it's construction or farming work, they are always hiring a lot more undocumented because they don't want to pay them, but also because there's just a surplus of them, if we're being honest. Like they want those jobs. They know they don't want those jobs. They probably want a better job, but they can get those jobs, and no one turns to look at them and be like, so what is, where are you from? Like citizenship? No one asks them. That's why they get them. So if you start questioning people's backgrounds and you start being like, oh, these people are undocumented, kick them out. One, we shouldn't be talking. America, we have a problem. We shouldn't be talking just for the sole case of we're Americans, but America was built on the killing of Native people, and also this country is built on a bunch of immigrants. No matter how far back you think you are from here, I don't care if your family was in the Mayflower, you're still an immigrant, right? The country is barely 200 years old and you're an immigrant. The only people who have this land for real are Native Americans. And they're not finding it hard to get undocumented people out of this country, right? Now, obviously, am I saying they should all stay with no process due to them of trying to figure out how to get them either more documented or figure out like the right, plan of attack for them to become documented or deported? No, I'm not saying they should just all stay here and do nothing and then live out their lives, right? That's fine if that is the case, or if they choose to like do whatever. Because obviously the other side of it is extremism, making sure that everyone knows that they are undocumented, pull them out of their cars, their houses, churches, schools, like their workplaces, being snitched on, like as if it's like the 1970s or something. And there's just a lot going on, and no one seems to bat an eye to how bad it is, unless it's a whole other issue when it's like the same level of depravity for those people. But if I can give my 2 cents on what I think should happen, I know it won't, because government's really slow when it comes to making actual change. And we've seen what Doge can do. It's not much of a change if you ask me. But I would assume that if you were undocumented, or if you stayed here for a while and you've shown like you've done some work, I'm not saying you have to be like a grade A student, you gotta be in the STEM field, you gotta do any of that. But if you have been here for some time and you can prove that your background wasn't like criminalizing, you don't got a record on you, people can vouch for your goodwill, I guess, then you have a chance of having a residency within like a certain number of years, whatever. Like you can go and apply. You can start the application process, right? Obviously, within that time frame, don't do anything crazy, because one crime can get you kicked back out, right? Of course, that's the other side of it. Like if you're looking for a visa outside the country, you have the same process as you did before. I know this type of mentality that I'm giving out is the same people who look at student loans forgiveness when Biden was in office and say, oh, why should I get forgiveness when I have to pay my full loans? And the same people will say to me, like, why should they have an easier route to get a visa if I had to like do it when I was out the country? And it's like, it's not easier, Like one wrong move, one person who doesn't like you calls the police and they say you did something wrong and you didn't. No one's going to do a fair trial on you. They're going to kick you out because I just gave them an easy way loophole. Now, I'm not in the government, nor do I care that much about learning more about it, if I'm being really honest. So it's being pushed on my screens no matter how much I look away from the news. It is very important for us to understand more about these processes, because as the average person can live their days, you're only realizing every day a new thing is happening, and it might not affect you personally, but it affects people around you, which will get back to you eventually, or affect the food you get, or affect the wages you make, or how much things cost, or the gas you buy. I'm sure gas will go higher now because of what we're doing. Look in the news if you want to know more about that. But a lot of things that's going on will affect you eventually. And people will start questioning, oh, why is this affecting me? And it's like, do you want a rundown, or do you want the easy, quick version of who to blame? Because that will, obviously the best place to even figure this out, or to really just like have an actionable item, is to really go and protest. Tell your people in government to let them know, like, hey, this is an issue I'm concerned about. Whether I don't care if you're like on the side of like undocumented should be deported, or they should be stayed here, like whatever. I'm not here to persuade anyone, because it won't work. But I am here to be like, if you have a cause for something, just know that whatever you choose does have consequences, right? Even if you go for keep them here, right? Good luck getting that to happen, right? If you are in the road of get them out, good luck having prices still lowered, right? It's just not going to be good for either choice. So if you do want to have something about it, you have to go to your government, your state, your senates, your representatives, your governor, not your mayor. I guess can you do. I mean, if you live in a southern state, your mayor, for real. But I do say like it takes a phone call, it takes an email. I hate calling people realistically, so I email them all the time, because I just want them to know that I care about these issues. I need them to actually care about the issues too. But obviously they don't have to care about the issue, because they got tenure, I guess. I don't really know what's going on with that. But I do hope that we make some changes with this, because while people either are in the camp of I care on either side, or I don't care at all, it's going to come in a month or two, that what we're doing is going to affect all of us, and we're all going to look around and be like, who is to blame, and why did no one tell me, and how is it that we're just now finding out? And it's like, you are glued to your phone, babe. There's no way you didn't find this out. But at the end of the day, it's anyone's choice of whether they care enough, whether they have enough on their plate to care, whether they're willing to do more about it past knowing about it. So it is just another part of living, I believe, even though what we're doing is, unmoral, unright. But I guess when we have a chance to fight against it versus what we could have done, maybe even 70 years ago, 50 years ago, it is a better chance of a battle now than before. So I can only hope for a better change, whether that is for one camp or the other camp, just a change that helps us understand, we're not just people living here, we're people who have power to fight back against a system we're not okay with. So that is really all I have. This could have been a 3-hour video, but I'm not a commentator. I don't get that deep into political fields, but I do believe that immigration is important for this country, because you wouldn't be here without it. Let's be for real. But we also gotta act like we gotta act like we know a little bit. We gotta act like we care a little bit. Yes, you have your job, you have your own stress, you have your own worries, but it's just gonna get piled on. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's so sucky to say that, but it will get piled on. And sometimes these issues can only make it worse or better. So hopefully, on that downer, I guess, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from this video. I hope it wasn't too much of a political spear, but realistically, everything's political no matter what you watch. So anyway, but keep your mental health safe, keep yourself safe. If you see something, say something, but not to ICE, obviously. Don't say it to ICE. If you see ICE, say something, for real. But if you don't see ICE, But I will see you guys next time in my next video. Hopefully this will be up before this month and have 2 days. So I will talk to you guys later. Peace and love. Bye-bye.